am here today with Lee Huffman. He is the owner of baldthoughts.com and wetravelthere.com, where he writes about travel and credit cards. And he is also a top star freelance writer who specializes in credit cards. So he's going to talk about that today and how he makes his millions doing freelance writing and lives the lifestyle that he dreams of. So welcome so much, Lee.
It's great to be here, and hopefully one day I'll be able to make you absolutely correct with the millions. Right now, I'm millions of pennies. I'm working on that. And then eventually, hopefully one day it'll be millions of dollars.
It will. Absolutely. So your day job was, back in the day, you were a CFO for a regional bank in California. Is that right?
Yeah, it was basically a divisional CFO. Our actual CFO at the top of the company did not like any of us else being CFOs. So my title was actually technically different, but effectively I was the CFO for a division of the bank.
Cool. And you decided to leave freelance writing, leave the corporate world and go strike out on your own and become a freelance writer.
Yeah. It was made clear to me it's time to go. And so I said, I can either find another corporate finance job and have to put in a lot of time and effort to learn the systems, learn the people, kind of build up my reputation at a new company and those types of things. And we had young children at the time. They were 3 and 7. And we were already kind of marveling at like how quickly the time flew by. And it's like, I really don't want to go spend another 12 to 14 hours a day working for a new company and miss even more of our kids' lives, And so we've always talked about living someplace else. And, when you both have careers, you and your spouse, it's difficult for you to say, let's pick up and move someplace, because then you both have to change jobs and everything like that. And I'd say, let's find it. Let's see if we can maybe transfer with your company. Let's see if we can find a new job for you someplace else. I think it's time to move. I would like to give my blogging and writing an opportunity to see if I can do something with it. And you've supported me with my career all these years. Now let me support you in your career. You can move forward and kind of reach your potential. I'll stay home, take care of the kids, and then work on my business and try to make it flourish as well, like in between soccer and doctor appointments and school and everything else like that, right? And so that's kind of been the formula that we've been doing for the last couple of years, and it's been working out really great.
That's awesome. What made you decide to become a freelance writer?
Well, really it was, I've been going to FinCon since New Orleans, and I used to just go just because it's kind of fun, right? It's like a cool bunch of people and having a great time and everything. And I a lot of times I would go just to kind of, 1, hang out, 2, to explore a new city, and 3, okay, I had no intentions of becoming a freelance writer or anything like that. But I'm like, okay, well, I can use the skills that people talk about for my own site, right? And so, and then obviously, as I got to know people, I started hearing some of the income numbers that they were producing. I was like, wow.
This is interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, I can see this. And, but I looked at it, I'm like, okay, well, 1, like, I have more of a financial education than a lot of people that are making a lot of money, and like no disparage to them or anything like that. But I'm like, okay, well, if they can do it and they have not the same background, far less than sometimes completely different industries,
yeah, then
I can write about personal finance. I can write about investments and insurance and banking and stuff like that when I have licenses and actual direct experience in those fields. So even if I can be half as successful as them, that could be a great.
Just income wise, like how long did it take you to replace your income, and like, have you fully replaced your income at this point?
I was very fortunate in my old career that, based on the experience and education and everything like that, I was making $200,000 a year with salary and bonus and things like that. So I had no dreams of replacing that income, one, because I knew that I was spending more time with my kids. I was launching my podcast, still doing things for my own website, which makes a little bit of money, but I make nowhere near the amount of money writing for somebody else than I do for myself.
Yeah.
And so it was more of a, okay, if I can get to like six figures, just like 100 grand, not just, I mean, obviously that sounds, the wrong way to say it, but if I can get to 100 grand or like 10 grand a month, that would be, at the exceeding expectations as far as I was concerned. And basically I was right at that point at the end of 2019, was making around 10 grand a month, building all that momentum. Everything was going great. And then coronavirus.
Yeah.
And, when you write about credit cards and travel,
yeah, shutting the travel industry down hurts.
That kind of goes away,
Yeah.
And so, so I haven't replaced my income, and I really wasn't planning on fully replacing my income. It was to me, it was more of, okay, contributing to paying for our daily expenses. We don't have that much because our house is like half the price here versus in California, but my goal is to be able to pay it off in like the next eight years. And then also just funding the kids' college, funding our retirement, and being able to pay for great experiences along the way.
So
that's really where the money's from.
Yeah. You're able to meet your financial goals and live the lifestyle that you want.
Mm-hmm. While being able to hang out with my kids all the time.
Yeah. Which has come in handy during Corona.
Too handy.
Now, where's my job again? I want that back.
Yeah. It's like,
So at the end of 2019, you were kind of meeting your income goals. How long had you been freelance writing at that point?
So the first freelance client that I ever got was in like March 2018. It was just a couple articles here and there, and they were small articles, like 1,000 words, and maybe it was like $100 an article, something like that. So not bad, but not great. And then started really ramping up in like May of 2018, as I left my job and was ramping up, bringing on some additional clients. I actually, one of the freelance clients actually put me on retainer almost right away. And it was an okay deal, wasn't a great deal, but basically they gave me a retainer for a set amount every month, and basically I had to write a certain number of words for them every month. So I don't know.
Steady income, like it was guaranteed. Yeah.
So it made things easier that way, where you knew you had that paycheck coming in. And so definitely, as you transition from a corporate paycheck lifestyle to having a retainer, definitely made things easier.
Yeah.
But then I also had some additional clients, and some of them in the personal finance world, and some of them in the travel world. And, it's one of those things where getting in the groove of things, but also like understanding how that world kind of works, right? I've talked to a lot of people, and they say that certain things are seasonal. And so that was, something that I was like trying to understand and trying to prepare myself for. But again, I had the backdrop of that monthly retainer. So I didn't have to worry about it really, until January of 19. And the client's like, hey, we've run out of budget for this project, so we're going to have to stop. I'm like, oh.
But you had a nice runway at that point. Yeah, you had made contacts, and you were kind of known as a freelance writer by then. Yeah, so you were able to pick it up.
And so it took a couple months to kind of replace that income from that client. And then part of my problem is that I've been going to FinCon all those years and making connections, but I was there just more to have fun. And even when I went there in the fall of 2018, after I had left my corporate job, I wasn't fully in the mindset yet of, okay, while I'm here, I'm actually here on business. I was still like, oh, let's just have fun and see my friends and enjoy ourselves and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I think you made genuine connections that way. Yeah. You had real friends rather than like just business connections. So It probably helped you out in the end. I was the same exact way. Like I just went to FinCon to have fun. I never planned on getting clients, or that was not the plan. But when it came time, like, I think I would like some clients. This could be cool. Like I had all these real friendships that I could draw on. So
no, absolutely. And I went to this conference for like, young professionals. It was in Orange County, where I used to live in California. And this guy, Wing Lam, I think was his name. He was the guy that ran Wahoo's Fish Tacos. He was like one of the founders of that. It was really popular in Southern California. And I believe it was him that said this, is that, you know, you don't network, you don't join an organization or start going to conferences or whatever when you need something. Like you got to be planting those seeds years and years in advance and basically be giving to other people for a while before you start asking for things. And so I think that's what I did, like kind of inadvertently or subconsciously going to FinCon, right? Making all these friends and like helping people out wherever I could. And those type of things. I don't think I've ever really asked for too much throughout the years. But then when it came time, when I was thinking, okay, should I leave corporate finance and should I go into freelance writing? Because let me step back for a second. When I was applying for colleges, I literally didn't apply for any college I had to write an essay for. So, so it's like really odd that I was moving into like a world where all I'm doing is writing. So
you never know. You never know.
It's my dad's passed away, but if he heard that I went into like a writing career, he'd be like, "What?
You're a writer?"
So, yeah, but yeah. So I reached out to several of my friends that I've known from FinCon for years. Said, "Hey, I know you're a freelance writer. I know, you know, that you do this for a living and you're really successful at it. Like, what should I do as I'm looking to make this move? Are there any resources you can provide? Those types of things." And so that was really helpful. Just kind of at least having those conversations with people and understanding, okay, maybe it's not as difficult as I put it in my mind. Cause like I have a bad habit of, you know, the first time you think about doing something, like, oh my God, it's like so difficult. It's above my level. You know, I'm not ready for it and everything like that. It's like that mental gymnastics that I do to myself.
Everybody. Yeah.
You know, and even now, like sometimes I get the imposter syndrome and everything else, even though I know a lot, I know way more than like the average person, but I see other people that are way more successful or they're like savants at that topic. I'm like, oh, I don't know anywhere near what this guy knows. And you discount all the knowledge that you have.
Yeah, you do. Yep. Imposter syndrome is real. Yeah.
But as I was talking to them, you know, they reassured me that, hey, you know, your writing is really good. You can definitely make a career out of this. You know, and some of them you made introductions to people for me and everything else. And like one of the conferences that I attended that was kind of a satellite of FinCon was CardCon, right? And this guy Jason Steele runs it, and he's very prolific freelance writer, been everywhere for years and years. And he did a thing where he's okay. The first person to register for next year, basically the second year of his conference, you know, you'll win a prize. He didn't say what the prize was or whatever. And me, just the competitive, I'm like, boom, 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 on my phone. Yeah, I got it right away, right? And I was picked as the winner. And what I told him, I said, look, like, because he was like, oh, I'm trying to figure out like what can I do for you to give you like a prize. He's all, can I like pay for your flight to like CardCon next year or FinCon? I'm like, I'm gonna look, dude. I have like way more miles and points than I know what to do with. I don't really need that. But what I really could use is, I know you're a great freelance writer. What would be infinitely more valuable to me is if you can introduce me to some clients that you know that need freelance writing. That would be way more helpful to me.
Yeah.
And so he made those connections and everything like that.
So that's awesome. Good job.
Way better than a free flight, you know. You know, and so that was great, and that helped immensely as I was building out my portfolio and everything. And as we were kind of talking, you know, 2019 again, struggled a little bit as I was replacing that one client and just kind of finding my own way and everything. But when I went to FinCon in the fall of 2019, I was way more focused and way more prepared to like, okay, I'm business focused now. I'm here to have fun a little bit, but I really need to find some clients. And actually I made so many prospects. I literally didn't even get a chance to follow up with them all by the time I basically reached my capacity.
Yeah.
And I think at my peak, I was basically doing about an article a day. So I was doing about 20 to 25 articles a month for clients. Plus, you're trying to write for my own website a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And then also recording my podcast and doing the show notes for that. So my plate was pretty full.
Yeah.
And I'm in some ways with coronavirus, I'm glad that some of them pulled back, because if I was trying to carry that load and help the kids and school and everything, there's absolutely no way I'd be able to do that all.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that you focused on credit cards and travel. Is there a reason for that? And what was the benefit of doing that?
Part of it's one of those things with the travel and the credit cards. It's like, those are things I really care about. And those are things that I really focus, because I can use that knowledge in my own world, right? Like, I love to travel, and I have a wife and 2 kids, and I like to fly in business class and first class, and I'll fly in economy a lot because I have the Southwest Companion Pass. But flying in, getting spoiled while you're flying in business class and first class is like an experience like you can't even put into words sometimes, right? It's incredible. But that takes a lot of miles and points, right? And so by writing about the stuff, I'm learning more and reinforcing my own knowledge that I can use not only for my own website, but also for writing for other clients. But most importantly, being able to use it for myself, so that way I can travel and do the things I want to be able to do with my family and create those awesome mememories.
And I have to think, I know, being in the personal finance world, that credit cards is how a lot of sites make money. So you're writing the articles that are the profitable articles for the site. I got to think that pays a little better than writing like 10 ways to budget for coffee, right?
Oh, sure. Well, I'll say this, like the banking world, even like when I was in a professional in the corporate world, the banking jobs always paid more than other industries, right? And so my job as a financial executive, that same job for, like, say in a manufacturing environment, something like that, I would have probably been paid 20-30% less at least.
Yeah.
And so like credit cards, I have affiliate links for my own site as well, and you can make anywhere from $50 to like $450. It kind of depends on the card and the time of year and everything like that, but you can make some pretty serious money, right? And so if you're writing an article and it does really well for that client, they can make some serious bank off your article, where yes, maybe they paid you $500, $1,000, or sometimes even more for that article, but think how much money they're making off of it. If you did it really well in SEO, it resonates well with the readers, and it's something that people want to refer back to because it has that lasting value. It is far more valuable to them than whatever they're paying you.
Yeah, and they're willing to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
And niching and being like really writing kind of the same articles over and over, I have to think that it makes you so much faster at it than having to write a credit card article and then how to get good gas mileage and then some other topic that's totally unrelated. You're just knocking out credit card all day. Like, I know that you used to write credit card stuff for me at one of my client sites, and if I had a question, I remember one time I had a question and I emailed you and you were driving in the car and you called me and you're just like rattling off all of these, like, well, this card has this and this card has this. And I'm just like, how do you even know this? Like, you just know it right off the top of your head. Like, it's nothing.
Yeah. Niching down definitely has that advantage. I will say this, it is one of those things where, one, I'm not always going to remember all the stuff, but at least I know where to look, right?
Yeah.
Because especially with credit cards, the bonus offers change on a regular basis. Sometimes the benefits change, the fees, those things like that. So if you write about it regularly, you're pretty much on key there.
Yeah.
But things change. But at least you know where to look. Whereas like sometimes you get a new client. One of my clients, they would sometimes send me on these like really like far out there tax codes and everything, and I was capable of writing about it, but I was like, where am I going to even find this information? And so you have to spend a lot of time finding the information before you can even write. And so if you stick to topics that are kind of within like a narrow range, you become just very proficient at it. The one difficulty though is that if you write about the same thing too often, you have to make sure that you're not like repeating the same words that you wrote with the other person,
Yeah, I have that too. Like all my calls to actions, like learn more here, and learn, it's like I have to mix it up a little bit. I can't say learn more here for every single call to action.
Yeah.
So you are like killing it in the credit card space, and then Corona cancels all credit card conversions, and no one's interested in writing about that anymore, which is the drawback of niching. You are now pigeonholed into that. So how did you handle that?
Well, I mean, the good thing is that my background in banking and investments and insurance, I was able to kind of rely on the things that I knew before this world and reach out to some clients that were focused in some of those other areas of expertise that I had. And so like some clients back from March just stopped altogether. Some of them are still, they're pursuing that like long-term relationship and that long-term reader. So I still get a few credit card articles here and there, each month, but been making a lot more money focusing on bank reviews and insurance and investments and debt payoff and those other types of personal finance. So when you come to an environment like this, and hopefully it's going to be a long time before we have to deal with something like this again, and hopefully we get out of here really quickly. But whenever something like this happens, and maybe, it's not a pandemic that happens, but maybe your client goes out of business, or they shift their focus or whatever, you have to be flexible and kind of be able to move along with that. So it pays to niche down especially if it's a profitable niche, and you become like an expert and somebody that people seek out for that information. But it's like you always got to kind of have like that plan B in the background, right? That, okay, if I don't write about this, what are some other things I can write about, know? And like right now, like I said, I'm writing about banking, insurance, investments, and et cetera. But I'm still kind of staying up to date with credit cards and travel because I have my own website. So I'm still writing about that and still looking into that information. So one, hopefully I can generate some income from my own site, but also when travel does come back in a more popular basis, that I will be kind of already hitting the ground running, knowing what's going on with the latest information. So that way I can jump right in there when those clients do come back.
Yeah. I mean, you made a good point, is like your niche went away, but your clients didn't necessarily go away and your contacts did not go away. So you just reached back. You kind of had to start over a little bit, but you still had all your contacts, and you weren't starting from zero.
Yeah.
It might have felt like it, but.
Well, I mean, like I said, some clients, they just stop completely. They're like, okay, we don't have budget for this. We are conserving cash. We're doing whatever we have to do there. Other clients, like one of them that I've been working with for probably, I don't know, a year and a half, something like that now. They actually pivoted as a whole website, and they still write about credit cards and they still write about some of that stuff, but they've been doing a lot more other content, like with real estate and personal finance and investing and insurance, stuff like that they're trying to round out their site. So even if a client doesn't necessarily think about that, maybe you even pitch them about some topics that are kind of like little satellite topics that kind of go around like the content you used to write about, but saying, hey, this, we can kind of tie it back into this, and interlink, do internal links within your site where, hey, here's this topic. By the way, you can also link and check out this credit card article that we've already written. Something like that.
And it's still like, I mean, they don't want to just not publish. They have readers that they need to keep engaged. And so just other stuff that those same readers would be interested in. Yeah. Still want to publish. So what's the future hold for Lee Huffman?
Well, hopefully I'll get like millions and millions of downloads on my podcast and I can start generating money there. But I will say this, like the same thing, again, with that niche, like my podcast wasn't about miles and points, but it was about travel. And I'm not making any money. It's like purely like a hobby at this point where the cash is going out versus coming in. Actually, wait, no. For tax purposes, it is definitely a business. It's not a hobby. I'm trying to make money on it, so it is not a hobby. So if anybody from the IRS is listening, it is definitely not a hobby. So I just have to make that clear. For those of you who are listening, essentially, if you are running a hobby, if you're doing a hobby and have expenses, you can't write those off. if it's a business and you're trying to make money, then it is definitely a business, and you can, look to write those expenses.
You have a little leeway in that.
Yes.
Not forever.
So, but yeah, my downloads were increasing and doing really well. And then again, just like everything else in March, there was a huge drop off, and people, the last thing people want to do was think about traveling during a pandemic. And so that was a problem of like over niching, where like I had too many of things that I was doing were all focused in that same realm, right? Like my own blog, Bald Thoughts, is about miles and points and travel. My podcast, We Travel There, is about travel experiences. And then I had freelance clients that were all about credit cards and travel. And so now you got three of your big irons that are in the fire, all in that same realm, and you got some concentration risk. Yeah. And so I have to make sure as we come out of this coronavirus situation that I don't go back into over concentration in that one field. I got to make sure I continue having some clients that are on other topics, so that way I don't have that type of situation to worry about, next time around. Yeah. But the good thing is that I've noticed that the downloads and the page views on my site and everything else, those are going up, and so September was actually, or was it August? It was August, was like the best month ever for downloads, both from a total as well as like the average number of downloads per episode. And so that was fantastic. And it's great to see some that come back. And I think people, one, they want an escape from their day-to-day life, whether it's stuck in a cubicle or stuck in the four walls of their home or apartment. They can't necessarily travel themselves, but they want to at least like voyeuristically travel. And so that's
think about it. Yeah. They want to plan. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's really what I'm doing with my podcast. And again, it's keeping that mindset. So hopefully I can pick some of that back up when things turn around and get some sponsorships or more sponsorships for my podcast, and be able to generate some additional revenues that way. And because I think that's part of like the whole freelance lifestyle, right? Is that you don't have just your paycheck anymore. You don't have just one stream of income. I have multiple streams of income. I have my website, my podcast, my freelance writing, multiple freelance writing clients. And so trying to find those different ways to generate the business. And then, also it's trying to turn some of the knowledge that I've written for other clients, as well as from my own website, all that knowledge and research that I've done for myself, being able to create some ebooks and other topics. That way, again, you'll have yet another stream of income coming in.
Yeah. I think for people who have never worked for themselves, they've always had W-2 jobs. I think like the idea of working for yourself, freelancing, having a business, whatever, seems very risky, right? Because you don't have that steady paycheck. But I think as we're finding out right now, it's actually less risky. When the world shuts down, if you only have a W-2 job, like you're done. My husband is done. He's sitting, he's looking for a new job. He's unemployed because he got laid off. I lost all of my clients, but within a week or two, I had full book again, because
that's fantastic.
You just have all of these connections and you're kind of in that mode of always looking for the next thing and always building. So
yeah, I mean, during the great financial crisis, a decade ago, right? It was like the same type of thing where people always look at it as like, well, I'm a good worker. I'm always rated high. I do great at my job, blah, 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 blah. I'm safe, and that's like a traditional way of thinking about it. Well, the thing is, like during the great financial crisis, we got a really unwelcome education that even though you are a great worker and you do your job effectively, like your entire industry or your entire company may just vanish and and they have to do layoffs. And even though you don't deserve it, you got laid off because they can't afford you anymore. Same thing's happening right now with so many businesses shutting down for the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
My wife works in HR, and she's had a lot of struggles with these really good people that have had to been let go just because different revenue streams aren't there.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to conserve cash or whatever they're doing, right? And so there's some safety and assurance, right, in getting that paycheck. But there's also concentration risk, just like we were talking about concentrating in one niche. You have all your paycheck at that one that one client, and it's a problem. I do real estate investing too, and if you have one real estate property, if you lose a tenant, you lose 100% of your revenue, right? But if you have like 6 properties and you lose one, the tenant moves out, you've lost only 16% of your revenue. And so it pays to diversify and look at those things. And even me personally, when it was time for me to leave my job, I used to be one of the highest rated persons, for a decade, at that company. And anytime, a situation occurred, my boss would say, okay, Lee, go in there and go fix it and take care of the executive and fix whatever problems were going on and everything like that. And then boom, I went from being a hero to a zero. Like, basically, you're no longer welcome here. Like, we're essentially forcing you out, but without like actually telling you that we want you to leave. But it was made very clear, but the words actually weren't said. And things can change in a hurry.
Yeah. So having a book of clients and a ton of connections is really, at the end of the day, is a safer situation.
Yeah. Like, whenever I meet new clients now, even though sometimes I have more capacity than what I tell them, I will say, like, I only start out new clients with like 1 or 2 articles a month, just because I want to get a feel for them. And I want to make sure that like the sourcing or the edits or whatever aren't too onerous. And at that point, I can also decide, is it worth the money they're paying me, or do I need to like ask for more based on the requirements that they provide, or just say, you know what, it is not worth working with you no matter how much money you pay me. Because there are clients like that. There are clients that are just, wow, what are you doing? One of my clients, I would turn in articles that were, sometimes 2,500 to 3,000 words, because based on their SEO strategy that they were doing. And then they would give me, here's like kind of an outline we want. Here's a couple different keywords we want. Okay, cool. We do that. And then they got a new editor in, and the person says, okay, thanks for turning in this article. Now here's these other 7 keywords we want you to put in anywhere from 3 to 5 times throughout the article.
After you read it.
After I've already written it, and it's like, you can't just slam the words in there, right? Because now you seem like a Russian bot, right? And so you have to redo some of the sentences, add some additional sentences, everything else like that. So that way it flows. Because I look at it like any article I write, I look at it as like, this is a reflection upon me. Yeah. If somebody's reading my article, no matter what site it's on and has my name on it, I want it to be good, and so I put in all this extra effort for these, and it's like, I was only getting paid to do X. Now you want me to do X plus Y. And it became to a point it wasn't really worth it anymore, because you turn in a 2,500 word article, which is what they asked. And by the time you put in all these extra keywords, now it's like 3,500 words or 4,000 words. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, buddy. This is not, this is not the deal.
On. Yeah.
So it's, like when you're first starting out, it can be tough standing up for yourself, whether it's starting out with my podcast or starting out with the freelancing, I put up with a lot more than I probably should have,
Yeah. But you can't expect perfection. You just got to kind of get in there and do your best and learn as you go. And
absolutely. But it's like, it's one of those things, as you get more confidence in yourself and as you get more clients, quite frankly, because if you only have 2 clients, you don't want to like upset one of them. And
right.
Now, you lost half of your income. Right. But as you get it kind of in your flow, keep like a mental like pecking order of who your clients are. And so as you find new clients, you go, okay, who's the first one to go? As I pick up more business, maybe I'm going to get additional assignments from an existing client, or I'm going to find a new one. And it's like, okay, if I do X, or if I reach this goal, this client that's really kind of a pain and not really worth working with, for the money. And even though they may be one of your highest paid clients, they could still be at the bottom of the pecking order. And you go, you know what? if I can get to this goal, then I can get rid of this client, and use that kind of as a motivating factor to help you go out there and hustle and network and find new business.
Yeah. And you have to keep in mind like why you're doing it in the first place. If it's for a lifestyle change because you want less stress, then even if that client is paying you the highest rate, if they're the most stressful, then it's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if I wanted to work with people I don't like, then I would just have a regular
I
job.
could have stayed at work. Exactly. All right. So if somebody has questions or wants to talk to you, where can they get a hold of you?
Really active on like Twitter and Instagram. At Bald Thoughts is my primary accounts that I use. That's again a lot of trips and credit card information, stuff like that. And then We Travel There. It's a podcast. You can be found anywhere. The episodes come out every Monday, 30 minutes long. Cities from all over the world. We speak to locals to find out the best things to do in their city from a local point of view.
Nice.
And that again, wetravelthere.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter.
Cool. Excellent. Awesome. And if you are a blogger and you want to start getting into freelance writing, we do have a course on Hit Publish called Freelance Writing for Bloggers. And we can get you in on that. And you can learn everything you need to know on how to transition from being a blogger to a freelancer. And yeah, so great. It was awesome having you. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Absolutely. It's great to be here. And I will say this, I haven't taken your course yet, but you were a great editor as I was working with you, and you definitely helped me improve my writing throughout the process of working together.
Thank you very much. That's awesome.